March 25, 1944, 4:47 a.m., Stalag Luft III, Nazi-occupied Poland. Squadron leader Roger Buchel crouches in the frozen darkness. Behind him, 75 Allied airmen wait in a tunnel 30 feet below the ground. Ahead of him, freedom or death. The tunnel exit is 15 feet short of the tree line. Every man who climbs out will be visible to the guard towers for 3 critical seconds. 3 seconds to run, 3 seconds to hide, 3 seconds to decide if they live or die. In 72 hours, 50 of these men will be executed, not in battle, not in combat, but murdered in cold blood on the direct orders of Adolf Hitler himself. All because of one decision, one ambitious, audacious plan that will become the most famous prison break in history. A plan that involves 600 prisoners, 4,000 stolen bedboards, and one 336-foot tunnel carved through enemy territory with spoons and tin cans. What happens next will enrage Hitler, will violate every rule of war, and will turn 76 escaped prisoners into the most wanted men in Nazi Germany. This is the story of The Great Escape and the disaster that followed. March 1942, Lower Silesia, Nazi Germany. The Luftwaffe is building a prison, not just any prison, the most escape-proof prisoner of war camp ever designed. Stalag Luft III, the location is chosen specifically for its geography. Sandy yellow soil that collapses easily, making tunneling nearly impossible. Elevated barracks raised off the ground to expose any digging. Guard towers every 100 yards. And a death zone along the perimeter fence where guards shoot on sight. The camp is designed to hold captured Allied airmen. British, American, Canadian, Australian, Polish, Norwegian. Pilots and navigators and bombardiers whose planes fell from the sky over occupied Europe. These aren't ordinary soldiers, they're officers. Educated, resourceful, many have tried escaping before, some multiple times. The Germans know this. That's why they built Stalag Luft III to be inescapable. By 1943, the camp holds thousands of prisoners. They're treated reasonably well, according to the Geneva Convention. Regular food rations, medical care, letters from home, mail from the Red Cross. But these men aren't interested in waiting out the war behind barbed wire. They have a duty, an obligation written into every military code of conduct, to resist, to escape, to continue fighting the enemy by any means possible. Among these prisoners is squadron leader Roger Buchel, Royal Air Force, shot down over Dunkirk in May 1940. He's 33 years old, a lawyer before the war, intelligent, charismatic, determined. Buchel has escaped before, twice, both times recaptured. The second time, he spent months on the run with the French resistance, came within miles of reaching neutral Switzerland before the Gestapo caught him. The Gestapo warned him, "If you escape again, we won't send you back to a POW camp, we'll send you to a concentration camp." Buchel doesn't care. By 1943, he's the chief escape officer at Stalag Luft III. The prisoners call him Big X. He runs the escape committee, coordinates all resistance activities, plans every tunnel, every forged document, every attempt to break free. Most escape attempts involve 1 or 2 men, quiet, small scale, slip under the fence at night, disappear into the countryside. Buchel has a different plan. He wants to break out 200 men, all at once, in a single night. The goal isn't just freedom, it's disruption. If 200 Allied officers escape simultaneously, Germany will have to mobilize thousands of police, soldiers, and Gestapo agents to hunt them down. Resources that could be fighting on the front lines will be stuck searching forests and checking trains. It's psychological warfare. It's resistance. It's a message to Hitler that Allied prisoners will never stop fighting. The escape committee approves the plan. Now they have to build the impossible. Spring 1943, Underneath 3 prisoner barracks, construction begins. 3 tunnels, each with a code name: Tom, Dick, Harry. The plan is simple: build all 3 simultaneously. If the Germans discover one, the others continue. Redundancy, backup plans. Never put all hope in one tunnel. Each tunnel has to be 30 feet deep. Deep enough that the German seismic microphones buried around the perimeter won't detect the digging. Each tunnel has to stretch more than 300 feet, far enough to emerge beyond the fence, beyond the death zone, into the forest. More than 600 prisoners are involved. Some dig, some distribute soil, some forge documents, some create civilian clothing, some stand watch. The operation is massive, coordinated, disciplined. Digging a tunnel 30 feet deep and 300 feet long requires materials: timber for support beams, lighting for visibility, ventilation for airflow. All of it has to be stolen or improvised. Bedboards disappear. 4,000 of them, eventually, ripped from bunks and smuggled into the tunnels to shore up the walls. Prisoners sleep on sagging mattresses and bare wire springs. Nobody complains. Tables vanish, 52 of them. Chairs, 34. Benches, 76. All disassembled and repurposed. Electrical wire is stolen, over 1,000 feet of it, spliced into the camp's main power supply to provide lighting in the tunnels. Prisoners work by the glow of stolen bulbs in the darkness, 30 feet below the ground. Tin cans from Red Cross parcels are fashioned into air pumps. Condensed milk tins connected together to create ventilation pipes. A prisoner at the tunnel entrance operates a makeshift bellows, pumping fresh air to the diggers below. The biggest problem is the soil. Yellow, sandy earth that's visibly different from the gray topsoil above ground. If guards see yellow sand anywhere in the compound, they'll know someone is digging. The prisoners develop a technique. They call it penguining. Pouches are sewn into trouser legs, filled with excavated sand, then emptied discreetly as prisoners walk around the compound. A man strolls past the garden, pulls a cord. Yellow sand spills into freshly dug vegetable plots, where it can be mixed with gray soil and hidden. Others flush sand down toilets. Others hide it in attics and under floorboards. Tons of earth, disappeared one handful at a time. The Germans know prisoners are digging. They always are. Guards conduct regular searches, probe the ground with metal rods, listen with microphones. In September 1943, they find Tom. Guards discover the tunnel entrance, summon photographers, document their success before dynamiting the entire structure. The prisoners don't react, don't protest, act disappointed but not devastated. Because Tom was the decoy, they expected it to be found. Dick and Harry continue. By early 1944, Dick is abandoned. The area where it was supposed to exit is cleared for camp expansion. The tunnel becomes storage, a place to hide forged documents, civilian clothes, and supplies. All effort focuses on Harry. The tunnel is a masterpiece of engineering. 336 feet long, 30 feet deep, complete with rail system using wooden trolleys to transport diggers through the narrow passage. Electric lights every 15 feet. Air pumps every 50 feet. Support beams every 3 feet. It takes nearly a year to complete. But Harry isn't the only preparation. Forgers work around the clock, producing fake identity papers, German travel permits, work permits, train passes, over 200 complete sets of forged documents. Tailors modify uniforms, dye them with boot polish and coffee grounds, transform RAF blue into civilian gray and brown, construct coats from blankets, fashion hats from scavenged fabric. The operation is so well organized that the Germans have no idea it exists. By March 1944, everything is ready. March 24th, 1944, 9:30 p.m. The compound is quiet. Prisoners wait in hut 104, the chosen ones, 200 men selected for escape, chosen by skill, language ability, and lottery. Tonight is perfect. Moonless, overcast. A layer of fresh snow covers the ground. Squadron leader Roger Bushell gives the final briefing. The plan is precise. Men will exit the tunnel one at a time, 3 minutes apart. Move through the forest in pairs or small groups. Travel by train, by foot, by whatever means possible. Some will head for neutral Sweden, others for Switzerland, some for Spain. A few will try to reach Allied-held territory in France. At 10:15 p.m., Flight Lieutenant Johnny Bull removes the final barrier, opens the exit shaft, and emerges into the frozen night. There's a problem. The tunnel is short, 15 feet short of the tree line. The exit is visible from the nearest guard tower. Bull lies in the snow, watches the guard tower, times the patrol pattern. Every 2 minutes, the searchlight sweeps past. A 30-second window between each sweep. He signals back through the tunnel. Ready. One by one, prisoners emerge. Wait for the signal. Run. The process is agonizingly slow. 3 prisoners per hour instead of the planned 20. Men have to wait in the tunnel, lying on wooden trolleys in the cold and dark, some for hours. At 12:47 a.m., there's a problem. A section of tunnel partially collapses, delays the escape for an hour, while prisoners dig through fallen soil and reinforce the walls. At 1:30 a.m., an air raid siren sounds. All camp lights shut off. Total darkness. The escape continues. By 4:47 a.m., 76 men have escaped. Number 77 is climbing out when a German guard on patrol nearly stumbles into the exit shaft. The alarm sounds. Guards rush to the tunnel, shine lights down the shaft. Prisoners still inside scramble back to the barracks, burn their forged documents in the stoves. The escape is over. 76 men are loose in Nazi-occupied Poland. 76 Allied officers with fake papers and civilian clothes, scattered across the countryside, all heading for freedom. The Germans are about to launch the largest manhunt in the history of World War II. March 25, 1944, 5 a.m., Berlin. News of the mass escape reaches Adolf Hitler within hours. The Führer is furious, enraged beyond reason. 76 enemy officers have escaped from a supposedly escape-proof camp. This is humiliation. This is defiance. Hitler summons his inner circle, Reichsmarschall Hermann Göring, head of the Luftwaffe, Reichsführer Heinrich Himmler, chief of the Gestapo and SS, Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel, head of the German High Command. Hitler's order is immediate and clear. Execute them all. Every single escapee. Shoot them upon recapture. Göring objects. Cautiously, he points out that executing prisoners of war violates the Geneva Convention. If Germany starts murdering Allied POWs, the Allies might retaliate against captured German pilots. Hitler doesn't care, but he makes a concession. Not all of them. More than half. Himmler calculates the number. 50. Exactly 50 escapees will be executed. Keitel issues the orders. Recaptured prisoners will be handed to the Gestapo. The Gestapo will select 50. Those 50 will be taken to remote locations and eliminated. Their bodies will be cremated. Their ashes returned to Stalag Luft III as a warning. Meanwhile, across Germany and occupied Poland, the manhunt begins. German police erect roadblocks. Border patrols are doubled. Train stations are watched. Hotels are searched. Farms are inspected. More than 70,000 German personnel are diverted to the search. Police, soldiers, Gestapo agents, Hitler Youth members, all looking for 76 men. The escapees don't stand a chance. Most are recaptured within 48 hours. Some at train stations, some hiding in barns, some walking along roads. A few make it hundreds of miles before being caught. Only 3 reach safety. 2 Norwegian pilots stow away on a freighter to Sweden. One Dutch pilot makes it to Gibraltar by train and foot. 73 men are recaptured. And then, the executions begin. The Gestapo doesn't waste time, doesn't follow procedure, doesn't return prisoners to camps. They select 50 men. The list includes Squadron Leader Roger Bushell, the mastermind, Big X. One by one, in pairs or small groups, the selected prisoners are driven to isolated locations, forest roads, empty fields, abandoned quarries. The Gestapo tells them they're being transported to other camps. Some believe it, some don't. When the vehicles stop, the prisoners are ordered out, told to relieve themselves by the roadside or to stretch their legs. Then, the Gestapo agents open fire. Not execution style, not formal, just murder. Shots in the back, shots to the head, bodies left where they fall. Roger Bushell is taken to a road near Saarbrücken. He's traveled 400 miles in less than 24 hours, within 20 miles of the French border, within reach of the French resistance. The Gestapo shoots him in the back, his escape partner beside him. The process continues for days. 50 men, 50 locations, 50 murders. The bodies are cremated, the ashes placed in urns, the urns delivered to Stalag Luft III. On April 15, 1944, the prisoners at Stalag Luft III are assembled. The camp commandant reads a list of names, 50 names, shot while attempting to escape after recapture. Nobody believes it. The Geneva Convention is clear. Escaping is not a capital offense. Recaptured prisoners are returned to camps, may be sent to solitary confinement, may be transferred to harsher facilities. They're not executed, but Hitler's orders override international law, override military protocol, override basic humanity. The remaining 23 recaptured prisoners are sent to other camps. They're alive only because they weren't selected. The prisoners at Stalag Luft III build a memorial, with the permission of the new commandant, who is horrified by what happened. A stone monument listing 50 names, 50 men who tried to escape and were murdered for it. The memorial still stands today. May 1944, London. The British government learns of the executions through Swiss authorities. Switzerland, as a neutral protecting power, monitors POW camps for both sides. Foreign Secretary Anthony Eden stands in the House of Commons, announces that 50 Allied airmen have been murdered by Nazi Germany, promises that those responsible will be brought to justice. The reaction is immediate: outrage, anger, demands for retribution. But the war continues. The executions change nothing strategically. Germany is losing. The Allies are planning the invasion of Normandy. The Eastern Front is collapsing. The Great Escape didn't change the outcome of the war, but it achieved something. 70,000 German personnel, pulled from wartime duties, searching for 76 men, for weeks. Resources that could have been fighting, weapons that could have been deployed, manpower that could have reinforced the crumbling front lines, all diverted because 76 Allied prisoners refused to stay captured. May 1945. Germany surrenders. Within weeks, the Royal Air Force launches a war crimes investigation. The scope is unprecedented. A dedicated team of investigators tracks down every Gestapo agent involved in the murders. It takes years, but they find them. The investigations lead to trials. British military tribunals. 21 Gestapo agents are convicted. 13 are hanged. Others receive prison sentences. At the Nuremberg trials, the executions are cited as evidence of Nazi war crimes. Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel is convicted, sentenced to death, hanged in October 1946. Hermann Göring is convicted, sentenced to death, commits suicide before execution. Heinrich Himmler is captured by British forces, commits suicide before trial. Justice is slow, but it comes. 1963. Hollywood. The Great Escape becomes a film. Steve McQueen, James Garner, Richard Attenborough, Charles Bronson. The movie is a classic. Action-packed, dramatic, heroic. It's also fiction, heavily fictionalized. The real story is darker, less triumphant, more tragic. There's no motorcycle chase, no mass escape from a train, no dramatic shootout. The real Great Escape is 76 men crawling through a tunnel, 73 being recaptured, 50 being murdered, 3 surviving. But the film immortalizes the story, introduces it to millions, makes Roger Bushell and his fellow prisoners legends. Today, the site of Stalag Luft III is a museum. Visitors can see reconstructed tunnels, examine tools used in the escape, read the names of the 50 executed men etched into stone. The legacy of the Great Escape isn't victory, it's resistance. These men knew the odds. Knew escaping from Nazi Germany was nearly impossible. Knew recapture was likely. Some probably suspected what would happen if they were caught. They escaped anyway. Because it was their duty, their obligation, their refusal to accept imprisonment while their countries fought for freedom. Squadron leader Roger Bushell never made it home. Never saw the end of the war. Never knew that his escape would become legendary. But his decision, the decision to launch the largest POW breakout in history, proved something important. Barbed wire and guard towers and threats of execution can imprison bodies, but they can't imprison the will to resist. March 24th, 1944, 10:15 p.m. Squadron leader Roger Bushell stands in Hut 104, surrounded by 199 other prisoners, all waiting for the signal. He knows the odds. He's escaped before. He's been caught before. He knows what the Gestapo will do if they catch him again. He goes anyway, because some decisions aren't about odds. They're about principle, about duty, about refusing to surrender even when surrender seems like the only option. The decision to launch the Great Escape turned 76 Allied prisoners into fugitives, turned 50 of them into victims of murder, turned 3 of them into free men, and turned all of them into legends. That was the disaster, and the legacy, of one decision on one freezing night in Nazi-occupied Poland. And Roger Bushell wouldn't have changed a thing.